when we talk about these not just corporate media, but any of these large institutions, one of the things that I find to be really useful to think about is the filtration system that is in place in a large media corporation. So when you're looking at Chris Cuomo or Wolf Blitzer or Brett Baer or any of these guys, just think about their professional trajectory to get where they are right now. There was a filtration system that
Yeah.
said, you play by this set of rules, you go forward. You bring up too much fire in your commentary or reporting, whatever, you
Yeah.
do not move forward. So that's why you get up to the top and you see Wolf Blitzer. He looks like a zombie. I mean, he's just completely emotionless, doesn't he?
It's
He
hilarious.
absolutely
Yeah. Yeah.
he looks like he's like a robot. There's nothing
He's
there. He's
just
just
sitting there talking and explaining
yeah,
the
yeah.
news.
So why is it Wolf Blitzer in that spot and not somebody that's got a little bit of something to say? It's because the guy that had something to say was prevented from being hired up through the chain a long, long time ago. And
Yeah,
what was left over is Wolf Blitzer, and that's what we get.
exactly. You know what that sounds a lot like?
What?
Defund the media.
Defund the media. What do you mean by that?
It sounds like defund. I always when I had an epiphany with what exactly what you're saying with defund the police, like because I agree wholeheartedly, not only with defunding the police, but what you're saying right now, and there is a correlation there if you think about it, right? So basically, what you're saying is the environment is so toxic. It's the system is it does not. It's like you're saying like a filtration system. It doesn't say it doesn't let through anything but what it wants to come through, right? Come through the bottom of it, right? And
Correct.
I think it's true with policing. It's you can see it in the media, and it's a large aspect of it is defund, like not only just defunding it. It's like it's because it's owned by these small group people who can choose to do whatever they these kings and queens that can anoint saying other kings and queens in there, and everybody knows it, and we all just go along with it, kind of like with the police, just I don't know, man. It's and like I said, it's the idea is for me is when you look at that situation, it's very similar in both of them, and you can even apply it to the government. Like I look at it like if you wonder why we are electing these people, they're supposed to be making these moves. Like for example, AOC is a perfect example. Like, I think it's hilarious. Jimmy Dore, my boy Nico, shout out Nico House. They've been ringing the alarm bells on AOC since even to me, and I kind of woke me up to it. Nico was like, "Yo, yeah, I don't know, remember we did that video with Jessica Cisneros and everybody. He was like, he's actually breaking down to me like, not just it's the system, right? This is how just like with defunding police, it's they will not these people aren't going to get through if they're not playing the game. Period. You know what I mean? So AOC has made it through. She's it's there's a reason. You know what I mean? And sure enough, if you look at what's actually happening, so like her. Like what are you doing? Like shaking the tree. Like like if I was in that position, man, it would. The truth, you couldn't look at, for example, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? Who that she is
Yeah.
wilding. She out there wilding, son. She
Yeah.
like for her people, right? She out there like, girl, you
Yeah.
can fight me in the in the chambers. What you talking about, right? Debate me now,
Yeah.
son. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
she don't know what she's
Right.
talking about, right? But I like the energy, yo. Imagine if AOC had that energy, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, we ain't
Yeah.
playing none of that. You know what I'm saying? Nah,
Yeah.
belligerent with it. Like that's what we want. And you on the right side. Supposedly,
Yeah.
you get what I mean? Like it's just interesting, right? And it's just like it's the filtration system. It's like you got to try and play the game. So she's trying to play the game. They're gonna spank her. Because it's just hilarious because she's taking massive L's. And you see there's talking about her fund, and it's just you got to play the game, and it comes down to the same thing I can imagine in media. People playing the game, just trying to get up, and I got to do this for my career and my family, and I got to do all. And there's always that. There's always the end of the I got to do this for It's I don't know. Don't let me get off on
Yeah.
a rant.
Yeah. Right. Right.
There's
Right.
always an
No. Well,
excuse.
and yeah, and tying together the police and media, I think, is something I wanted to touch on in the local media sense because
Yeah.
it's one thing I remember, there was a story that Ben Mankiewicz was telling, maybe like on a conversation that he had with Cenk Uygur on Old School or something like that. Is a story he told about about the reporters and how chummy they get with the local police, because reporters want to get that access. They want to know when they're bringing in the perp so that they can have the cameras there and report on the story. So they develop these chummy relationships with the police. They take them out to lunch, take them out to dinner, and
It's a
become
community.
friends with them.
They build a community.
Yeah, it's like they build a little community together so that they kind of look out for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the police give a call and they give that tip to their favorite reporter, and the favorite reporter doesn't explain what defund the police means. Instead, just allows the overarching narrative of that this is a defund the police is somehow I don't know what you would call it, just a wrong-headed approach to solving the problem, and that the real thing is that we need to XYZ. And it comes back to those personalities involved at that really low level, that what they're, if the reporter and the policeman are sitting down for a sandwich, that in developing that relationship, that's the lowest level of the filtration system. And so if the reporter doesn't want to play that game, then he's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
Stories or anything.
Scoop. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like to if you don't mind me going on, catch me once I'm about to jump off the deep end here. Catch me if I go too far. Yeah. But, so that's something I've been thinking about, and I think I've kind of, touched on talking to you about, and, I've been thinking about when you explain that story to me, and the aspect of community that popped out at me was the idea that these people, they feel like they mean something, and not only feel like that, the police media are actually staples in the community. They're if you're in the police, if you work for the police or you work for a news company, more than likely you are not only to your family, to your community, you are somebody of importance or of
you have some stature.
Exactly. You have some stature in your community, right? And I've been thinking a lot about the concept of, because like I've been looking at my life being 30, like, what do I want, right? What is it? Is it, money? What if I didn't have money? What really do I want, right? You know what I'm saying? As a human being, what would make me happy, even if it wasn't money or something, right? I mean, realizing not just me, just, people, right? And I've realized, looking back, it's like there was a time where we had, people, you didn't have to be rich and famous to have stature in your community, or also have to, be in certain positions of power, right? You know what I'm saying? Like now it's just everything's profit driven, and there's all this, and especially when it comes to Black people, we've never been able to have that because, our culture, everything's looked down upon. So when that reporter comes across somebody from my community, it's, like the dichotomy with, I can't imagine they look at us even the same. Like, you know what I mean? They're around, quote unquote, staples of their community. Right. You know what I'm saying? And we are, since, Black people we don't view ourselves as even like that, you know what I'm saying? Like even that's why we, in my opinion, like, people understand, like there's the old adage, people join a gang to, to have a sense of family. But like, let's really think about that, right? Dissect and go deep. It's not just about family. It's about, having somewhere where you're respected, where people like, it's like, I have to code switch mad. And even if I try to code switch, you know what I'm saying, I'm still not going to have, you see, you hear the stories for how they, they texting about, saying this, saying this Negro in the police department, this nigga in the police department, that, how, white people talking in there, and, like, people in where I'm from are like, you rather me, do that versus I can, actually participate in my community and actually gain some stature, some status in my community. You get what I'm saying? And this, like I told you, in the streets, because ain't no justice, anywhere else for us, right? So, like I think it's just
and also something that you had mentioned when we had touched on this in a previous conversation, and not on the show, just you and I talking, that the idea of gaining some sort of a status or or stature in your community was much less of a, it didn't take that much, right?
Yeah.
There was sort of like this, the communities where there was a built-in amount of respect for the letter carrier,
Yeah.
for example, the
Exactly. Exactly.
mailman.
Yeah.
There was a built-in amount of respect. And sometimes even I can remember that sometimes during Christmas times, and this is probably still a tradition in some places, but at your Christmas time, a family might leave an envelope with a little bit of money for the postman,
Hmm. Yeah, that's
because
dope.
that was acknowledging, hey, appreciate you and appreciate what you do. You've got a tough job,
Yeah.
and
Now
you
we're all
are
just
somebody that's important.
Yeah, now we're all just
Yeah.
cogs in a machine, man. Now it's just, like that importance that you might have had being a blacksmith in your community or something, like from way back, right? Or even like people who
Yeah.
make, a shoemaker, or just the local hardware, salesman there, or the family that, owns the hardware store down the way, something like that. That importance you might have had in the community where, where it's not like it's not just about being rich. It's, about, like getting a little more opportunity, a little more leeway, because people know you, right? You know what I mean? Like you can just
Mhm.
you're free to be who you are, right? And that's even for even higher up. That's even in the blue collar world. That's why a lot of suicides going on there too, because you can still make money and still just be a cog in the machine. Like, you know what I mean? You can make good money and still not mean nothing to society, right? You know what I'm saying? To your community, even, what I'm saying, barely means something to
Right.
you just, and because everything's just about the green, blue faces, money, dollar. It's all about just getting, it's how much money do you have, you know what I mean? And
Well, there's
or
so much
helps you have a,
economic pressure on everybody too that it's
yeah,
the day to day is just trying to pay the bills. We're all caught up in
yeah,
this. We're not in a time where there's any excess, there's any place to relax as a citizen and
yeah,
just be, because for most people that are in that blue collar world, it's a constant battle
100%, man.
with surviving and paying the bills every month.
Yep.
So.
All right.
Hey, before I do want I do want to talk about how local media has contributed to racism and that conditioning a little bit. I don't know that it's necessarily a fresh subject to you and I, but maybe for
Yeah.
some people, they don't realize that. I like to talk about the subconscious racism that exists in the people's minds at large, and a lot of that came from images that they see on media, images on local news, especially, local news is something that maybe not so much these days, but if you go back 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, local media stations were everything. You'd always watch the nightly news. That's how you got your news, or the
Yeah.
newspapers also. And that the local media oftentimes would put black uh, suspects on
Hmm.
camera because that would get ratings, and they would do that over and over again, and that's where those reporters and the local police would work together to
Yeah.
get those shots of the perpetrator, the perp walk,
Exactly.
uh,
Yeah,
the black
man.
guy in cuffs coming out of
It's
the
all
car
about,
and going into the station
yeah,
because it
when
gets ratings.
yeah, it's about ratings, man, and yeah, just like feeding on that, like that fear that the majority, which is white people, have of society, which what I mean, like it's when you look at it, like that's really all it is. It's they want to feed on that, they want to just line their pockets by feeding on that fear, or get those ratings, help get those bonuses at the end of the year, and feed off that fear, man.
And it's easy for them because it aligns with it very likely, or there's a good chance it aligns with what they already think anyway. They think
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, you know,
It's like a self-fulfilling
so
prophecy, man. So yeah,
like a self-fulfilling prophecy a little bit. Hmm.
man.
Do you think one of the I'm so anxious to break this down. Oh my gosh. So
Let's
everybody
do it.
thinks that the mainstream media has a liberal bias. There's the liberal media, right? It's drilled into everybody's head, including folks that consider themselves liberal themselves. they've also bought into this. And what I want to say to that, what I'm trying to scream out to my friends and stuff is like, no, that is a false narrative that everybody has bought into. Everybody's group thinking on this notion that the mainstream media is left leaning. No, it's not even remotely true. We can talk through examples of it. But where this comes from, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but whenever I have a conversation like this with somebody, they're like, no, the CNN's definitely left, look at this chart. And somebody made a chart of all the major media outlets, and they put them from left to right and they ranked them. And so when you do that, you might look at CNN and they might be to the left of the center of that chart, but they're not. But if you change the chart and you don't compare media outlets to each other, instead you compare a single media outlet and where their coverage aligns with the public opinion and the truth and facts, you will see that the mainstream media, such as the CNNs, Fox News, of course, is, but MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, all these major media outlets, when you line them up against the public's opinion, they are not on the left even 1 degree. They're on the right by several degrees.
Yeah, for sure.
Yo, you like what you just saw? Make sure you like, share, subscribe so the algorithms can algorithm or whatever sorcery they do. Follow us on our socials, links all down in the description, and let's keep rocking.